So generally people like join in within 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll wait for probably 5 more minutes and then we'll start.
Sure. Good.
Yeah. Hi, Swagat. How are you? Hi.
Can you guys hear me? Hello.
Yes, loud and clear.
But I can't see anyone in the video. The video is frozen for me.
Maybe it's the internet connection. I mean, I'm able to see everyone.
I can see Bandita.
Okay.
How are you,
Hey,
Sagar?
Bandita.
Hey.
Bhale aছো kela. After such a long time.
Yeah, very long time. Huh?
Bandita, so a lot of people do not know where you are and what you do. Would you like to, share a bit about you? Because you are at a very interesting place.
Yes, probably the most interesting place in this earth that we have ever heard of. So, hi everyone.
Hi, Bandita.
Hi. I'm Bandita, and yes, I'm in a small island called Papua New Guinea.
Oh,
So, and it's like, to make it easy for you all, it's like 2 hours away from Brisbane. And I'm here for a project, and I have been here for now maybe May, June, July, August. Yeah, almost 18 to 19 months. And I'm a clinical psychologist. And this place is very interesting, actually. Like it's a kind of retreat for me after coming from Delhi, from India, because people here are actually like, because they are in like they have like 800 cultures here, 800 tribes, so they don't even understand each other's language.
Hmm.
So they have
wow.
just one common language which they all try to speak. Internet connection is really poor here,
What is
and
that
it's
language,
like
Bandita?
we are back. Huh?
What is that language which people generally speak there?
It's pidgin. It's they say it's broken English,
Okay.
but it's not exactly broken English also.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's kind of, it's German, it's kind of little bit of English and little bit of their own language. So though I tried to learn, and I'm still learning, and but it's nice. People here are very chilled, cool. They don't care. They're like the most ignorant people in this world. Even if they don't take pressure on anything, they don't want to go to work, they just don't go.
Yeah.
Like one of our colleagues, she joined work yesterday, and a day before yesterday we gave her orientation, and then she never came back.
What?
So it doesn't matter to them. Yeah, I mean, she doesn't like, she never came back, and that is how it happens. Like, our, like, everywhere this is what happens. They don't take all these things seriously. And it's of course not a very rich country, but rich by organic products. So of course, after coming here, I'm just having all the best of the best things up here. They have gold mines here. Very people are very rich by their, actually, not by money, but by, like, vegetables, fruits, mines, their own islands. So it's quite interesting. I'm here in a refugee project.
Hmm.
Um, and then I have almost traveled all the provinces here, because now I am in the main city,
Nice.
but I was posted in a very small, a dot island. It's Manus Island. So I was posted there for 4 months, and it's awesome. It's like nice. It's a retreat for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, nice. Nice is
I
an
think I'm
understatement,
liking it, and
man.
people are like, they are not in any rush. And
Hmm.
I think I have adapted to that part of life. And I have actually, after coming here, a lot of things also that have changed me. And it's kind of an evolution that I have gone through. So, yes, until the project is here, I am here, then I'll be back.
That's nice. You look happy as well. That's cool. So hi,
I'm
hi,
very happy.
yeah. So hi Sagarika, hi Isha, Joy, and Rohit. If you're okay, you can probably turn your cameras on. I mean, it's not mandatory. It's all cool, and we encourage everyone to participate. So it'll be great if you can participate. If not, and if you just want to test waters or you just want to listen, that is also fine. Hi Rohit. Uh, you are a regular. Probably you can turn your camera on if you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
So hi, Sagrika here, Nurleen.
Hi.
I just joined. I was wondering. I mean, I just saw your post on LinkedIn, and I was wondering, what do you discuss with this topic in mind? I was just curious to find out what is it that we are discussing. Why is India unhappy, etc. So I
Yeah.
thought I'll participate. I'm
Yeah.
just being silent observer. I just
Sure.
watching, listening to all of you, and I'm obviously very intrigued about what's going on.
Sure. Sure. Okay, it's 6:10. I think good time to start, and we've got 9 people now. So I'm sharing a screen. I've got one slide, uh, and I've kind of summarized the data that I kind of observed. Let me open that. Okay. Are you all able to see the screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So just a minute. So yeah, so today's topic is why is India unhappy? And the United Nations kind of released its World Happiness Report this year in March, and India was at a 144 rank out of 156 nations surveyed. And in fact, last year India was at 140 rank, and this year we dropped by 4 ranks. And surprisingly, on the other hand, our neighboring countries like Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka are much better off. In fact, if we look at Pakistan, it has been ranked at 66, which is a great number. And on top of the charts is Finland for the third consecutive year, with Denmark and Switzerland at the number 2 and 3 spots respectively, followed by Iceland and Norway, completing the top 5 positions in the ranking. And the Nordic countries they have kind of seemed to figure it out. Finland and Denmark have consistently topped the World Happiness Report in all 6 areas of life satisfaction. And these 6 areas are: one is income or GDP per capita, second is healthy life expectancy, third is social support, fourth is freedom, and last is trust and generosity in general. Okay, now I'm stopping the share and it. Okay, so this was the data that we just observed. And so let's discuss what does it really take to be happy, and why is India so unhappy? And I know that I'm comparing it to the last year's ranking, but if we dig deeper to the data, last to last year, India was at about 130 or 131 rank. So the ranking is also dropping by the year. So let's discuss what are the reasons why Nordic countries are better. Why are they so happy? Why is India not happy? Who wants to give it a start?
Can I?
Yeah, sure. Please.
Yeah. So regarding India, like India's lower rank in the recent survey, I think it's pretty obvious because the 6 points that you said, like GDP per capita and freedom of choice, I think
Yeah.
we've been consistently failing in all of these,
Yeah.
right? And like if we compare to all these Nordic countries that have consistently like remained in the top for like not only this year, like I think many years, they consistently top the happiness survey, this Scandinavian nations like Norway, Finland, I think especially Finland, Iceland, and those. And one thing I think like that correlates most to those nations compared to nations like us, which are in the bottom, is the social welfare factor and regulation of the labor market. I think these two are one of I think these two are one of the main factors that contribute, like, is responsible for why India is where it is now. Because one of the main thing that contributes to our happiness is kind of the social security that we perceive. So when we like we fall ill, or one of our, like, we don't have medical coverage made by the state, like we don't have proper social welfare programs at place. In fact, in the last few years, our social welfare funds have been cut by the BJP state more than ever. And I think one of the most important thing is labor regulations. So disparity of income and the labor exploitations, where you don't have proper labor laws at place, are another thing that contributes to this failing in the happiness scale. And the recent thing that we have seen with, like, all these, and one of the points that you maintained, that 6 things that I think it's also freedom of choice that was there. So I think India is failing miserably in freedom of choice factor. From like, if we see the way we are doing with our media, and all and way journalists have been targeted, the way academics has been targeted, I think freedom factor has been really one of the decisive thing why we are, like, failing in the happiness scale. And apart from the freedom, well, I think I don't need to mention about the current state of India's GDP per capita.
Yeah.
And also with all this CA protest and with coronavirus thing, the way the labors were handled, clearly shows that we are a country in where we didn't have any labor welfare laws at place to handle such a crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think all these factors together leads to where India is today.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from these things, discussing why India is low on happiness scale, I would like to talk about why happiness, like, is it important for happiness to be a political goal, which I'll talk about later. And now over to you guys.
Yes. So it was really interesting. You started with freedom of expression, or freedom to, make your own choices. So let's, stick to this topic for now. Anyone wants to pitch in about freedom, how we don't have freedom here? I'm not talking about free will, but freedom to, make day-to-day decisions, or who you want to marry, what you want to study, things like that. Anybody? Or any other point that is coming to your mind?
Hi, Gulab.
Yes, Vikal.
So, it's a very interesting topic, that why India is not happy. But we also have to see the shift in mindset of people. If you go back 20 years, when probably I just joined college at that time, people were happy with the things they had, be it materialistic, be it relationships, be it anything. They were happy with what they had. The trust factor was there. I mean, I could go and spend time with my cousins at their home for 1 month, like in school holidays. They could come up to my place, they would stay over here. Over a period of time, the way our society has changed. I mean, people moving out more to urban cities for jobs and then getting married and staying away from family. One, trust factor has gone down amongst each other, even with relatives now. Second, it's a race amongst people who wants to have more and more. Be it your life, I mean, it is about from a lifestyle. If you want to have a good lifestyle, we want more things to have a good lifestyle. People are not satisfied with what they already have. They're running behind something which they aspire for, and in getting in that race, all these things are being left behind. The point which Swagat just raised about the freedom of not speaking and all those things. Now it can be seen as political statement, But the way things are happening currently across the country, when you speak or when you say something, it is being taken out of context, or it is being pointed at somebody else. Then another problem starts. So the tolerance level has gone down. People are not tolerant anymore. Earlier, people were tolerant, which was seen as that we can be suppressed easily, but now we are not tolerant. So it is a way of saying that we cannot be suppressed now. We want to be the oppressor, and in that way, we are not tolerant any further. When you say the rankings of other countries, Nepal, Pakistan, and the neighboring one, I had a discussion with all the people those who work in my counterpart in those countries, and they are happy with the way things are going in their life. They are happy with what they are earning. They are happy with what they have. When I see within my course circle, nobody is happy. And that is again, I raised this point like 1 month ago, when the freedom that people do not get freedom from their childhood. It's the cultural aspect over here. Your father will decide, or your family will decide, whether you have to be an engineer or doctor. You cannot decide that you have to be a musician or you have to be in other field. That is not seen as a field by family members. So you have to be what they want to be. You do it hesitantly, and then when it comes to move forward in life, again, people those who are doing in love marriage arrangement, that's a part of life. But still, it is something like the suffocation is happening. There is a lot of suffocation amongst people, that we are not able to speak for ourselves. And if we speak, either we are termed as rebellious, or we are not in sync with society, that what society will think if I'm doing like this or if I'm not doing like this. Most of the people, if you see the numbers, there is another number attached to it. uh, Apart from this, the happiness factor, the number of people those who are migrating to countries like Canada or Europe, it is shooting up,
Yeah.
literally shooting up. Because one of my friend, they applied for Canada PR this year, and the last draw, which happened on 16th of September, by that time, Canada has taken around 70,000 people from India alone. Last year at the same time, this number was 24,000. Now, there is one aspect that Canada is opening up doors for immigration for next couple of years. That is fine. But the people, those who are applying, that has grown like anything. And why they are grown? Because they see the other side of the picture. That lifestyle in Canada or in European countries is much better than what we are living over here.
Hmm.
Even if the expenses are higher, the income source is like that, but at least you will have peace. You will have that environment where you can survive happily.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're talking on the happiness index, then over there people are not worried about multiple things. Even in here, if you are earning good amount of money, still we are worried about how we can earn more, how we can do this.
Yeah.
What will people will think if I'm not having this car or that car, so I will have to buy a big car so that I can show off with my relatives or family.
Yeah.
That does not happen over there. So it is how you take forward. Even my cousin has applied for a PR, and he has got I mean, he has been selected now, so he is moving next year. And he's quite simple that even though I will earn money little bit more than here, but at least I will be at peace. I
Hmm.
don't want to live in a place where my children are afraid of going out, or they are afraid of speaking out. I don't want to live in that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
So that is one thing which has taken a shift. And the countries which are always in top 10, over there, the happiness factor for them is all about living a quiet and peaceful life. They're not after materialistic things like we are.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is one factor which I see why people are not happy, why India is not happy. Secondly, is how we are treating other people now.
Hmm.
Recent examples, the untimely death of Sushant Singh Rajput. The case or the investigation was supposed to be for his death, whether it was a suicide or not. But it has gone to a different angle, and now that person has been forgotten. For whom it was happening, he has been forgotten. Multiple theories are coming, and all those reckless reports or the media trial or whatever is happening. This was never before. I mean, you go back 20 years, you will never see a media trial. The way media trial is happening now, the person is
Yeah.
guilty even before he or she is accused.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an intolerant society we are living in.
Yeah.
And people are now again going back to a nutshell that I don't want to speak. If you do not want to speak, you are seen as a weak factor. You're seen as a weak link, so people can suppress you. If you want to speak out, then there will be clashes. So where are we going forward from here? The question is, where are we going forward from here? Do we want a lifestyle, or do we want a place where we are eating each other, or do we want something where we want to live at peace?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what I would sum up.
Yeah. So really interesting points, because there's a common notion that the more money you make, the happier you will get. But if we look at the data, all these these countries, Scandinavian countries, are not the richest countries really, but they value more towards these social relationships, and the government is doing a really good job, in these countries, because these people do not. Yeah.
If you look at it, I'm sorry to cut you out,
Yeah,
but
no
if you look at this, the neighboring countries, the government is even in a worse situation. You look at Pakistan's economic situation; they're always under debt. Still, people are happy because they know that that is what they do not dream of something which they don't want to achieve.
Yeah.
They are happy in their nutshell where they are living. So that is why they are feeling happy. In European countries, they value more about the quality of life.
Yeah.
Now it's again it's like a flip side. We want everything. We want families to live together. We want dispute should not be there. We want materialistic things more. We want to show off also. We want everything, and still we are complaining. So why there is complaint? If you have everything, why are you complaining? Stay content.
Anyone wants to share
You
their
know,
opinion for it? Yeah.
I would want to go back to the data and that study that you shared, since that's the premise of our discussion today. There is something very abnormal which I noticed in the ranking. If you see, and Vikalp also mentioned that we see Pakistan there before us. I mean, they are happier than us. But most surprisingly, you have Iraq, you have Iran, you have Libya, you have all these countries, the Middle East countries, which have been struggling so much for the last couple of years. With their kind of civil war that's happening there, and in the parameters on which UN has evaluated the ranking, your socio-economy is one of the parameters. Now, considering that, I seriously don't understand that what is really the reason behind that. I mean, either it could be a empirical anomaly, or is it something to do with the kind of connectivity that we have in our country? I mean, if you see the mobile connectivity penetration, which is much more higher in our country. I mean, people in our country is much more connected to each other, which kind of expose us to this notorious world of social media, the consumerism, the virtual world, the virtual realities, which is a lot more reason of our unhappiness standing today. If you see, the prime reason of our unhappiness could be that our constant craving, our constant comparison, our constant this greed of wanting more, or which is leading us to, like, so it's a very paradoxical situation where we have all the information, where we have the availability of awareness. We know what are the things that are available around the world. However, there are some challenges with our affordability to get it. So there is a constant frustration which is seeping in somewhere in our unconsciousness. And I think that is leading us to unhappiness in comparison to those countries that I just mentioned, wherein people are not even aware of it. I mean, people are not even aware of the social, the luxuries, the vanity metrics that we generally kind of show off. So they are not even aware of it, and they are okay with it. I mean, they are happy in their own way, in their own terms, etc. I mean, it's a typical situation between our generation and the generation, like, if you go to our previous generation, they were much more happier than us. I mean, though they have much more reason to be more bored, or more unhappy, more unsatisfied, but still they were happy. But we, despite having all these resources, despite having this kind of connectivity, availability of resources and information, we are not unhappy, because we know that somewhere we are not able to either achieve that, or attain that, or afford that. So that could be one reason. I mean, I don't know, and I won't be surprised if there is at all an anomaly in the data. especially with United Nation. I mean, after this entire WHO episode, I seriously have credibility issue with any organization of United Nation. It's highly politically derived.
Okay. Yeah. In fact, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and it's a conspiracy theory. We don't know about it.
Could be.
He was saying that Pakistan is at 66. Could it be a conspiracy theory? Is that intentional? What are they trying to do? Because at this moment, I mean, the kind of with the media all around, you don't really know whether your source is credible or not. Even if it is credible, you can't really trust the source. Anybody else with that hang up? Do you think there is an anomaly in the data? It's not probably correct. Anyone else?
Gulin, I don't know about the anomaly, but like after hearing all of you guys, I have a few things to share, and I have a very individualistic approach towards happiness. So, first of all, I feel that there cannot be 1, 2, 5, 10, 11 reasons that why India is unhappy, because happiness is a very subjective thing, right? I mean, you could be happy just having that glass of beer right now, but you cannot also be happy because say you wanted to step out and it's raining outside. And even though those situations coexist, you define where you want to go in terms of happiness, right? And happiness is pretty much defined the same way for everybody. And because individual happiness is like, like the drop in the pond, and like that's pretty much constitutes the entire universe for us. And that's how we measure happiness for a country, for a region, and all sort of those things. So there are two things here, which I personally feel like, if I want to define my happiness, so if I say that I want to define it for my fellow citizens of the country, there could be two things which they might be looking into. One is satisfaction, right? How satisfied I am with my belonging, with my environment, with myself, with my family, and all with my leaders, with my education, with the things I had in terms of aspiration, with my job opportunities, and all sort of those things. So that's whether, and if I say, if I pick three things in my life, like in my job, my personal life, my partner, right, and people I look up to, and if I'm dissatisfied in any one or any two of the three quadrants, I can be termed as unhappy, because that's the majority uh, feeling I have in terms of what I'm feeling, and what I'm looking at, the lens which I have to look with people, to the world. So reasons why anybody could be unhappy is, I mean, if I talk out in a broader spectrum, is that we are segregated. India right now, India in the last few years is not a united India. We have been segregated in so many levels. And Vikalp mentioned about the whole Sushant Singh Rajput debate, and people were segregated there, right? Even in the coronavirus time, we were segregated basis what is Maharashtra doing and what is Bihar doing in terms of everything. And when the Sushant Singh Rajput conversation came in, people picked sides. One side was that they're picking their favorite actor, and Bengalis are like being that lady Ria was being made a like a witch of the story and all that. So there were like two segregations there. Then there was a Bihari and a Maharashtrian segregation. Then there were like there's so many different, and honestly, one way is that you can segregate we can segregate ourselves in any different ways. We can be politically segregated, we can be regionally segregated, we can be culturally segregated, and all that. So because we don't see ourselves as one whole bunch, as together, and we always in this fear that either we are in minority, or the other party which is currently in minority might rise up someday. Like there's a debate around, say, Muslims do 10 bachas and all that, and they will soon one day becomes like there are all kind of theories around those things, and we kind of have built fears around the segregation which we have, and all is that like it's in the mind for us, like most of the thing. So I feel segregation is one of the reason why people are unsatisfied, because we are trying to link everything which we think, because human beings are like a social social being. We like to identify as ourselves as part of some community, some group, some creed or some tribe, right? And when we do that, we have some sense of insecurities around those things. And it could be happen in any way, right? Even if you are in your house, you could be someone who reads a lot. Your partner could be someone who just like watches stories, and you kind of have disagreements on that. And it's a way of how we segregate things. So that's one thing which I feel is could be the reason that we get dissatisfied. Other thing is, and I talk about, when I say this, I talk about adults. I don't know why kids are unhappy if they are in this country. Most people, when they talk about happiness, they call it a place. They think happiness is something where they can go. Like as Vikalp was telling about that, people are getting PR for Canada with the hope that, when they reach Canada, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Right? Or say I apply for a company like Google, Facebook, and when I get that job, I'll be happy. I think the problem is in this thinking that we feel that happiness is a place. In fact, happiness is a journey which never ends. So the process of you applying to Canada, going through all of that, say the process of you going to say to an Ivy League college and you applying to the process of you reaching that Google job, or whatever aspirations you have, whatever things you feel is how you define happiness. It's in the journey, it's in the process, and not at a place. Like, because you can reach that place and then think, what now?
Yeah.
Right. And then again, the cycle of you being unhappy, you being dissatisfied, two things which I pointed out, would starts to kick in again, because we're segregated that way. That's how we think. So yeah, that's my individualistic approach towards happiness. And the reason why India might be unhappy, because I still say might, because it's a subjective thing. Because I said that you and I could be unhappy on different things, is because these two factors might be at play. Either we are not defining our happiness the right way, or we are segregated or unsatisfied about the things which we have.
Yeah, really interesting points there, Utkarsh. I picked up top 3 ones from what you have shared. One is happiness is subjective. Everyone can have a different criteria. Then we are also seeing a lot of polarization, a lot of, us versus them culture. And even in that, there are subgroups. And like you said, people find solace or they find comfort in groups. It is very difficult for one person to stand, alone or different from the crowd and say something. That is right. And also you kind of included some philosophical take on happiness, that it is a state of mind, and it's not necessarily the journey, or it is definitely a journey, but it's not necessarily a destination that once you make X amount of money, or once you get through Google, you're happy. It's a state of mind. And also, if we because we were looking at the data in the beginning, so maybe because how this works is like that they pick up few people from the country, and these are the people who actually do the assessment, and that is how you get the report. So yes, you are right. I mean, it's based on limited data. I mean, even if the data is fine in terms of quantity, but it is still based on that data. So yeah, that's great point.
Then the parameters also, I mean, the country's ranking, if you see the parameters, they are also very subjective. I mean, freedom of expression, we all define in our own way, our freedom of expression. So again, the sample number, the sample size, the demography of the sample, taking all of these factor in.
Yeah. Right. I think Joy wants to say something. Yeah. Yes, Joy. Joy, your voice is breaking.
Everyone has actually put up a very beautiful points, but it all depends, as Utkarsh rightly said, it all depends on your own mindset. So it's person to person, it's subjective, it's completely aligned to what you want and how you define your life. Looking at how we have seen the last couple of years, since since I mean the government has come into majority and we see a lot of like media is one area that we used to have a lot of trust on, where slowly and gradually we realize that whatever government want to portray through media, and every media is really. So we have seen while we work in our normal day-to-day lives, we have seen more
We lost you.
very happy in this company. Hello. Can you hear me?
Little bit. I mean, you broke.
Your voice is getting metallic,
Yeah.
Joy.
Okay, let me just hold on to one place. Let me know if this is fine.
Better now.
Okay, so
I think we lost Joy. Yeah.
We lost Joy.
Yeah.
For sure.
In fact, yeah, money, I think, yeah, money is, I mean, if you look at Finland, okay. So if you look at Finland, there is this, there is this unsaid rule that you don't talk about how much you earn or what's your salary.
Yeah.
They don't really care about that. In fact, it's considered as bragging if you tell how much money you make. And there people are very generous over there. And, when you feel that there is somebody who cares about you, even if it is government, and you are living in a generous society, then you are automatically more happy. And on the contrast, like we have already discussed about it, we fixate a little too much on how much money we make. Many of us think and feel that once you have this much money or paycheck, you will be happy. And having said that, I'm not saying that money is not important. It is really important. In fact, it kind of increases your lifestyle. And, but beyond a certain point, it really doesn't matter. So if money doesn't matter, what does? What is the most important element? I know it is subjective, but what is the most important element that will make people happy?
So, keeping aside those subjectivities, I mean, we all have our own subjectivities. I think one thing which works for all and for their happiness, I think is a relationship, the kind of people which you have around, quality of and I'm not talking about the quantity of people, but the quality of people. I mean, how involved and how invested you are with your people. And I think we are taking a blow there as well. I mean, if you see, slowly and gradually, we are getting nucleared into a very unitary kind of family, even in kind of friend zone. We are getting narrowed day by day. I mean, we are getting distant with our friends, with our relatives, despite having this connectivity. I mean, this virtual connectivity, as we say. True relationships are something which I think we are really missing. So that could be one of the reasons.
Yeah. So why is the relationship missing? I think as far as I remember in the, olden times, people, I mean, we belong to a very collectivist society. India is a collectivist country. So what has changed all of a sudden? Are we becoming more individualistic? Are we trying to ape the Western trends? What do you see? What is your interpretation of the trends that's going on?
This impact bias, have you heard about this impact bias?
No, I haven't.
We overestimate the impact of situations. So we have this very, great thing about a human brain, that we can preempt situation, and not only preempt, we can be and live in that situations. While that has helped us evolutionary, that has helped us to become much more smarter and survive, it has got a flip side also. The flip side is the constant negativity that it brings us into. We, half of the thing we keep on thinking do not happen to us, and we keep worrying about it. So in a kind of, we overestimate the impact, be it the job, be it money, be it a right kind of life partner, a right kind of a study or education, academics, etc., everything around. And we think that if we don't get that, our life will be measurable. But I think there have been several studies which have shown that the delta of difference is very trivial. I mean, even if you get it or don't get it, even if you pass or you fail, it doesn't matter over a period of time. but we unnecessarily be very anxious about it, and that kind of lead us to very self-centered, wherein we are only invested in ourselves. As it is, the family is getting nuclear, the friend circle is reducing day by day. And on top of that, we have this insecurity looming over us, telling us that you got to do this, you got to do that, this is the right way, that is the wrong way. And then we are so self-centered with that, we are so invested in that, that we ignore to see around, we ignore to see what is around, we ignore to see the connections which are reaching towards us, which could actually do a better job with us in taking us to our destination. For an example, I mean, if instead of investing the entire time in books or maybe researching on Google or internet, I think if we have a good productive culture of friends with the right kind of network and mindset, I think that's any day is a better source of information. But then we ignore to reach for that because we are so self-centered.
Yeah, I think really good points there. When you were talking about it, Kaushik, I was thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It feels like we are still stuck at the bottom. We are living for survival, because for us, monthly paycheck is important. Raising up our kids is important, because government is not really supporting us in that. So it's very difficult, because right now you're just in that survival mode, right? Which is why you compete with others, because you need to have that job. You need to make money. Absolutely.
And then we are hit so badly by consumerism. It constantly giving us a false sense of need, letting us that this is needed for you and you got to buy this. If you don't buy, you are unhappy. So that adds in.
Absolutely. And Neha, you wanted to say something. You raised your hand.
Yeah, hi everybody. My point is that I think there's this whole attitude of contentment versus discontentment. So despite consumerism, despite somebody said there's a lot of information out there because of social media, and which makes us aware that we might be lacking quite a bit in comparison to our friends or peers or colleagues or whatever. But I think the bottom line is about having that attitude of contentment. So I know a lot of people who would not, they would be in the circle where everybody is doing very well for themselves, or are driving luxury cars or going for luxury holidays, and they might not be able to do so, but they're still more happy than or satisfied than those people, only because they have the attitude of contentment. So if a person is missing that attitude, I think how much ever they have, they're always going to be dissatisfied, because there's always going to be a need to compare with somebody who's doing much better than them. And you'll always find that, right? Like how much ever you earn or however well you're doing financially in life, there's always going to be somebody who's doing better than you, and then you're going to be in comparison with that person. So you're never going to be satisfied. So it's all, for me, I think it's all about contentment versus discontentment.
Okay. So, yeah, absolutely. So this is more philosophical. This is regarding, like Utkarsh mentioned in the beginning, everyone has their own criteria of happiness. And, some people choose to be happiness because they feel that happiness is a state of mind.
Correct.
But then if we look at, without, I know it is very, easy to say that, inculcate positive thinking, only think about yourself. But when you are at a survival level, thinking about self-esteem needs or self-actualization, which are towards the top of the hierarchy or the pyramid, it is very difficult unless you don't,
But sorry to interrupt you. But like you said, beyond a point, money is not needed, right? So, okay, I'm talking about a state where we're doing well enough. I'm not saying that we are poor, we have no money, or we have no, no money to eat, or we don't have a roof over our heads. I'm talking about those people who are doing fairly well enough and they're still dissatisfied because of the fact that they move beyond the survival need stage, right? But then it's all because they're in constant competition with others. So there's always going to be this need versus, do I need this or do I just desire it? Like, do I really need this or do I desire it? There's always going to be unhappiness in that state.
Also, even people who does not have a roof on their head are happy.
Exactly. Sorry. Yeah. They are. And I think there's so many times that they're happier than us. You would see street children, or you would see the kids who are begging, they would smile or they would laugh more than any of us would in the entire day, or they would like, break into a smile at the snap of our fingers, whereas we need like a very big reason to have a smile, a lot of
Yeah.
us. So because we're so
Yeah.
stressed about our work and a lot of other relationship, whatever, finances, work, parents, whatever. There's so many other things that are stressing us.
And so I met a kid, in the Himalayas, like I was like exploring. He said, like he didn't say anything, like he smiled at me, and I was like, "Why are you so happy?" He said, "Because you need it more."
Hmm.
Right?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting that how the conversation is shifting to, subjective experiences and finding happiness in whatever you have. And,
Yeah. And even the paradigm of what we thought we needed as a shelter thing or as survival and all that has been all shattered in the corona time. All we need is very little to survive. Whereas when we were living in like all the metro cities, I don't know where you guys are. I'm back in my hometown.
Hmm.
My idea of survival, staying happy, material, and having a car and all that,
Yeah.
broken, gone, shattered.
Yeah.
Right? We need so little to survive and stay happy
Hmm.
than what we thought that we all need when we were living in like big cities.
Yeah. So, Toby, you kind of agree with what Utkarsh is saying. Do you want to add on to that?
No, actually, I was agreeing with what Joy wrote in the chat. But
Okay.
Utkarsh, don't feel bad. I agree with you also, man. Great points. Like, I'm just kidding. So I have a point to make actually. Sorry, I'm like, okay. One second. Give me a second. Hello, hi guys. Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, I mean I know Gurin, I don't know the rest, but yeah. Anyway, so hello everyone. So I just want to say कि यार मतलब आप जब मैं हिंदी सबको हिंदी आती है ना, सबको आती ही होगी. आप लोगों को हिंदी आती है क्या?
Yes.
Yeah.
सबको हाँ ठीक है फिर ठीक है. नहीं तो मैं बोलता रहूँ आपको समझ नहीं आया तो फायदा नहीं है. तो मैं बस ये बोल रहा था कि मतलब मैं जब ये पॉडकास्ट के बारे में सुना, जब गुरली ने मेरे को बताया कि मतलब ऐसे सेशन होगा जिसमें व्हाट मेक्स इंडिया अनहैप्पी, सो मेरे को लग रहा है तुम लोग कुछ ज्यादा ऐसे पॉलिटिक्स में बात कर रहे हो, बट आई थिंक सोसाइटी गवर्नेंस ये सब भी हम ही लोग हैं. सो आई थिंक दे आर ऑल्सो अनहैप्पी इन अ वे. सो आई थिंक द मेन पॉइंट इज द एजुकेशन सिस्टम. मतलब उसी की वजह से आई थिंक पूरा का पूरा सब कुछ ऐसे फक हो जाता है. तो अगर वहां पे जैसे मतलब आई थिंक विकल्प मेड अ पॉइंट कि कौन कौन सब कोई पढ़ाना नहीं चाहता, सब डॉक्टर बनाना चाहते हैं, इंजीनियर बनाना चाहते हैं, बट अगर तुम स्कूल में ही मेंटल हेल्थ इस वगैरह में बताओगे तो आई थिंक दैट विल बी बेटर rather than comparing कि इस डेमोग्राफिक में ये देश है जो अनहैप्पी है. दैट इंडेक्स डजंट मेक सेंस टू मी because I think it all makes sense individually rather than as a collective, because individuals make a collective. Like, so I think अगर mental health उस सब पे ज्यादा बात करें तो that would make a country better. मतलब मेरे हिसाब से that's what I thought. I mean you can pull in any time. Like,
Okay. Those were some really cool inputs from Toby. Anyone wants to,
That's very true. I mean, happiness has become a skill these days. It has to be learned. You have to learn how to be happy, because at the fundamental level it's chemical reaction in your brain. You have to get those happy hormones secreting, and then only you have to have those dopamine rush and all those, then only you get happy, and you have to know how to get those hormones secreted.
That's addiction. That's addiction. Kaushik, you're talking about.
No, dopamine doesn't give you addiction only, but there are these happy hormones which give you happiness. I mean, at a chemical level, that's like you feel very satisfied, you feel content.
Yeah, like through love and exercise.
Love, yeah, and gratification. Most importantly, I think somewhere we've forgotten to be gratified. I mean, to ourselves, to our society, to our friends, families.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one reason why our mental health suffers, right? Because we feel isolated. We don't have a very strong support system. Not everybody has a very strong support system in terms of family, friends, teachers, which we had earlier. I mean, like somebody said, the generation previous to us was happier because they had such a strong, they probably lived in a joint family, had a lot of their uncles, aunts, cousins around them. So if anybody was stressed about anything, they could just go and talk to, like, you know, you're stressed about schoolwork, okay, you could just go talk to your cousin, and or just play with them, and then, you know, get it out of your mind. So what Toby said is very correct, that we need to start talking about mental health, and, you know, have sessions just like we started having sex education classes in school itself. We need to start having these sort of awareness classes in school itself about mental health as well. I am studying to be a counselor, and I'm working with autistic children, and I realized that there's so much of a dearth of that. I mean, there's that disconnect between people who need help and people who can actually provide help, or even listen for that matter, is very, very, very small percentage now.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll just add on one thing over here. See, I'm not sure how you will interpret it, but when I see children nowadays going to school, and when they come back from school, they're not happy. They're not happy with what has happened in the school. Maybe with the friends, or with the kind of the learnings they get, or what the education system is. In our time, school was fun. I mean, when I went to school, I was fun. Coming back, it was fun. But now when I see children coming back, I don't see they're happy coming back from school. They're finding excuses of not going to school. So is it something, why are we going towards a situation where we need to have happiness classes for people? Something which was a basic thing which we all started growing up with, being happy. Now we need happiness classes. Is it where we are going to taking a society, or is it where we are taking our next generation, that you need to have happiness classes also as well to remain happy? Because you will not find happiness in your school, you will not find happiness at your home, you will not find happiness with your friends. Where do you find it then?
Interesting. In fact, Joy has shared an interesting comment in the comment section. He says, and look for sadistic pleasure. We look for sadistic pleasures to keep ourselves in. Smart devices are making us handicapped and losing direct contact with humans. Because when you were saying, when you were sharing your viewpoint, Joy said it's because we used to play outdoors, which kind of helps brain develop rather than PUBG and TikTok. So yes.
If you take that scenario, who started this, that you don't have to go outside, you have to stay indoors? It was the parents. I remember in my time, parents used to say, please go out and play. Now, parents don't want their children to go out. They want them to stay inside. They have given them smart devices. They have given them iPads, phones, everything. Smart TVs, Android TVs, everything is there. So they will not allow them to go out. Why? Because trust factor was one thing which was there earlier, which is not there now. Secondly, people feel that if their kid is much brighter than us, stay away. You have to work hard to be much more better than them in terms of numbers. When we are putting children into numbers game, numbers will never make anyone happy. It's a never-ending process. You want more and more numbers. So what he said, that people enjoyed while going outside. Now, if you see just the lockdown effect, when unlock started happening in June, smartphone sales just shoot up like anything. They just shoot up like anything. Why? All classes are on phone. All meetings are happening online. Everything. The element of children sitting with their parents for their study purpose has long gone out of the system. I don't remember any parent nowadays sitting with their child and helping them with their studies. You have online classes, you have Byju's, you have everything. So if everything has to happen online, then find happiness online.
That is why you have games like Life 2.0, where you have an avatar and you're living in a virtual world, manifesting what you really want, and an alternate personality altogether.
And there is one more reason, that people are finding happiness online. Now, you see the number of people hooking on Tinder, you see number of people hooking on all these social sites, be it TikTok, be it anything. For them, that is happiness. They have more number of followers, that makes them happy. I mean, following somebody on a video sharing platform and no more number of followers you have, it makes you happy. And if your following count drops down, you take steps which are beyond your control. It's like you will suicide, you feel unhappy, you get depressed. When TikTok was banned in India, there were reports that people have gone into depression. And seriously, just by TikTok banning in India, people have gone into depression.
But then there's a flip side to it also, no, Vikalp? What else do we have now? We only have smartphones, right? Government is not doing really, there are no benefits, and pay parity is sky high, and women are not getting paid as much as compared to men. So there's a lot of disparity otherwise also. There's nothing really to hold on to.
There is something which is missing. What is missing is, my father was a government officer. He used to come back around 7 o'clock in the evening. But when he used to come back and after getting changed and everything, he would spend 1.5 hours, 2 hours with me. And then mom would join in after household work, and we will have a good discussion, be it my studies, be it everything. Are we having discussion with our children now? That's a question mark. Are we giving them enough time that we are giving you enough time, and once I come back from office, I am giving enough time to my child? Are we doing that? I see my neighbors around, they come back, they don't give time. They can give them money, they can give them all the gadgets in life, but they need their time. Where is that time? Parents are busy in their own office works. Now, earlier office was up to 6 o'clock. Now office is running after 9 or 10 o'clock. You come home, you're still working on reports, so you have to share something to your boss. Do you have time for your children? And when they see you busy in smartphone or gadgets, what option they have? They will also switch over to these mediums.
Exactly. That's because we are not able to choose what we want, right? So if, for instance, if the workday has to be 9 hours, it is never 9 hours. For Danish societies and Scandinavian countries, if it is 7-hour work, it has to be 7 hours, not more than that. And they celebrate life, they celebrate weekends. Nobody's going to call you on Saturday and Sundays. So the kind of culture also we have, parents are unhappy, which is why children are unhappy. So it kind of cascades, right? It starts from somewhere.
It's a top-down approach. Yeah.
Top-down approach.
I mean,
so
if your system doesn't support so like you said, like if I have work pressure, if I have targets to meet, I have to work. I can't help. I have to work on laptop. And the contrary, in the Scandinavian nation or in the Nordic nations, their culture, their system, their government do not support it, and that's cascading down in the culture. That's not possible in our case. So it's a systemic failure for sure.
Yeah.
Now people have friends which are much closer to them when they're found on PUBG. I mean, there are so many people I know, they have found best friends on PUBG. I mean, I can't even imagine that you can find friends on PUBG. That is hard to believe. You find friends in school or college. Now things have changed, and it's very sad to see. And I would use this word sad because it is very sad to see children are the biggest sufferer in all this thing, because from early age they are getting isolated. They are making friends with gadgets, not with people. And when that happens, when they grow up, they will be cascading the same thing down the line. So it's now this process has started. Until unless we do not realize that what matters to us most, what are we prioritizing in our life? Are we prioritizing our children, or is it work, or what are we doing? What is it that we need the most? Do we need our family the most, or do we need these materialistic things? I mean, some people will say, I am working hard, or I'm earning this much so that I can feed my family, I can give all the happiness. What happiness they want to give to their family with that money if nobody is happy? Buying an iPad, iPhone, all these smartphone gadgets, smart TV, everything is happiness, then India would have been at the number one.
As much as we want to discuss it and take it forward, it's time. It's 1 hour. Any closing comments? Any last comments?
Find your purpose, what you want in life, and be content with what you have. If you're not content, no matter how much you earn, you will never be content with that. Because if you earn something, then you will see the bar has gone little higher. Then you will run after that. Then run after that. So whatever you have, be content in that.
Okay.
I think to have a good support system is required. You have to have a good support system. I mean, the reason we are taking the easy way to hand a device to a kid is because we don't have a support system. We don't have the grandparents at home who can take care of the kids. We don't have the cousins who the kid can play with. So having one support system first, and the second thing is we have to stop being victim of this intermittent reinforcement which we keep getting from the social media, the validation, the short-term gratification. So we have, in a way, we have made ourselves into that trap. We have to stop indulging into that and see what exactly is our calling, and then pursue that. Could be the way. I mean, easier said than done. Even I am not being able to do that, but I think that should be our objectives.
Interesting. What about you, Swagat?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to be kind of the devil's advocate here. I would like to leave with a little bit of different thought. So in the beginning, when I was talking, I was like asking a question: should happiness be a political goal to begin with? So happiness, for me, is a very conformist category, a very intermediate conformist category. For even in a personal level, for example, Sunday is a weekend holiday. We all know that Sunday, हम लोग खुश होंगे, Sunday को holiday होगा. But it's not Sunday that we feel happy. Saturday night is what we feel happy, thinking that Sunday will come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even in a classic psychoanalytic scenario, like a person has a wife and a mistress, so he thinks that he's fighting with the wife all the time. So he thinks that once the wife goes away, I'll find happiness with the mistress. But most of the time, what happens? The wife goes away, so that's the mistress. He no more finds happiness with the mistress.
Yeah.
So what we actually want is that a thing of happiness to be at distance, to be kept dreaming about, and not actually achieve it. So we humans are, I think, very. But one thing psychoanalysis teaches us that we human beings are very good at sabotaging our own happiness. So, and when it comes to happiness as a political category, I don't think, I think it's an ideal thing to strive for. Because, like, if we look all this trend of happiness study that has come from, like, one interesting thing I would like to point out is that, for example, in Bhutan, the king of Bhutan was did a survey, like he started the survey of doing a happiness survey on his subjects, like to find out how if people were happy and stuff. And he did it not to bring structural change and go to from monarchy to democracy, but to save his monarchical ass. So that he can manipulate people to be happy and monarchy can continue.
Interesting.
So all these big datas, like for example, I think this important. There's a psychologist called Martin Seligman, who is known as the father of kind of positive psychology, who's started the whole kind of self-help books and how to be happy and all those things. So he was doing all the studies of how to be happy and wellness studies and accumulating surveys and data of how happiness people were. Interesting thing was his whole research was funded by the US military. So why was the US military interested in something called happiness and well-being? Because happiness is something that can be manipulated. Like someone said, a poor person can be happy as well. So when he can keep the poor happy, he wants to change the structural conditions of his life. So happiness as a political category is a bit problematic for me. And another example of is Christopher Weil is the guy who behind Donald Trump's last election. He was the guy behind all those digital surveillance and stuff. So what he did, he came up with an interesting device. What he did was, he did survey over, I think, hundreds and thousands of Facebook profiles, and based on their likes and dislikes and all those big data using Google and stuff. So he accumulated data on how much people are happy, or how well, like what conditions people define themselves as happy, and all those data were accumulated. And those precise data were used in election campaigns when the election was coming. So I think happiness in that way can be dangerous as a political category, like when we make happiness a political goal to attain with, because though in surface it seems like we all want to be happy, But one important lesson that for me, the psychology teaches us that we also fall in love with our own unhappiness. Happiness is also something that we from inside don't want to achieve. So happiness is something we ourselves want to keep something at distance. For example, in the US, there's some kind of leftist parties which are constantly failing. For example, I forgot his name, what is the name? Joe Biden or something. Yeah. So one of his party candidates said one very nice, interesting thing that catches me. He says that it is good that he dropped away from the election campaign, because if the left would have won, then it would be a huge responsibility to actually fulfill the expectations that they're claiming to be. So it is more comfortable for them to be in the opposition than to actually come to power. So yeah, happiness is something, as a psychological category, is something I feel is a very intermediate and conformist category. And truth on the other side is painful often. So, and I think it's ultimate choices between us, what we want to do. Do we want happiness, or do we want the painful truth to move to a space of authentic structural change?
Right. Yeah, in order to change something, you have to accept what is wrong and then try to change.
Yeah.
If you become comfortable with what you have, then there is no growth, right? I mean, how do you move past that then?
Yeah. So I'd just like to add one thing. In this idea of happiness, like the whole idea of trying to be happiness, this thing is even making kind of Eastern philosophies like Dalai Lama philosophy and stuff very popular in the US. And even the Western countries nowadays are very, glamorizing Eastern Oriental philosophies of how to be happy and all those things. But are those things bringing any structural change in the US, like the capitalist lifestyle, or in the actual structural change? No. In fact, that is helping them to grow more as capitalist oppressors, or whatever we say. For example, like a person, like a big corporate owner can take, like he can feel the burden of like running a huge corporate and all those things, and he can take a few days off, and he can come to a country like India and explore Dalai Lama and all this well-being and strive to be happiness, only to go back and be a more efficient leader and continue his leadership. So I think happiness in that way, and for people in China or North Korea, so at least they know that they are being manipulated by the state. The problem with liberal democracies is that we feel that manipulation itself is our freedom.
This is a very interesting point, Swagat.
Yeah.
I mean, worth cultivating.
Yeah. So the problem is that in liberal democracies, most of liberal democracies, we don't have the word to utter our unfreedom. So the very manipulation feels like freedom. So I think that is more dangerous. Yeah. And right now, I think the good thing about all that kind of things that are happening now, the CA activism and all those police brutality or whatever, all these things, at least these things, even if it's making us unhappy, are making us face the truth of structural oppression that we are facing today. Instead of having a liberal democratic state where we are easily being manipulated in the same way, but there where you don't know that you are not free, and whether you feel happy about it.
Yeah. Just to question that notion, just to have that doubt is,
So I would like to leave with this thought, and I actually have some guests over, uninvited guests, so I'd like to leave now with this thought, and I'd like to watch it later on with all the interesting input that comes.
And plus it's almost over. So I'll share the recording.
One question. I mean, this is a question which I've been asking a lot of people now. People have been working from home since March, 23rd of March, till now. Are they happy with their family members for such a long time at their home, or are they frustrated with them?
I think frustrated.
That will answer a lot of the questions, because if you are not happy with them right now from past 6 months, then you can never be happy.
No, but you know, if you see, basically you are at home, but you are not with your family members because the work pressure is that mounting. I mean, I am sitting
Yes.
at one place since morning to evening, almost, you know, late night, getting no chance of. Previously, I had a slot to come back home and play with my kid. Now I don't have that, though I'm there. I mean, it's a very paradoxical situation again. So, of course,
So
unhappy.
that's what I'm saying, that most of the people are quite frustrated. They want their offices to get open and just rush out of home. But plenty of people like me, I'm working since morning till night, but then there are different breaks in between. Like from afternoon 2 to 4, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting with my mother, chit chatting, doing all nonsense things. And that has created a rapport bond which was missing earlier. So for me, this lockdown has come up with it's like a feel good factor. The happiness was always there. It was not able to come out of it. Now we are more than happy. So it's a question which people need to ask themselves during this lockdown phase: were they happy with their family members or not? If they were not, then what do they need to be happy with them if you cannot stay happy with them in a house for 6 months?
But Vikalp, it can be a mix also, right? I mean, you could have occasions, mostly you're happy. Of course, you're getting to spend more time with your family. And then there could be occasions where such close proximity could also create a lot of issues, like differences of opinion, which could lead to a fight or an argument. And, you know, you don't talk for days together or for hours together for that, not days together, hours together. So it could be a mix of both as well, right?
That, yes, I agree that if you are into a confrontation mode, it might lead to arguments, it might lead to certain displeasure moments. But then again, that's the fun of it. Earlier, you were not even having fights with them.
Correct.
But again, I'm playing the devil's advocate here, Vikalp, because now when you are living with your family members, you are actually encountering those problems. You are actually dealing with those issues. Otherwise, it's like मैंने आंखें बंद कर ली है, you know, and I don't know what is happening. So
यार time नहीं मिलता था वो issues deal करने का. मतलब, you know, we just kept putting it on the back burner because we didn't have time to really deal with those things at that time.
Yeah. And now that we have time, we don't really appreciate individual differences.
Exactly.
No, it depends upon how you take it. Now that is again where the individualistic approach will come. In my family, I mean, it's just me and my mother. We are two people at home, and two people. One is on the other side of 50, and I am on the mid 30s. So then the difference of approach is always there. But that is how the fun is. That if we are, if we are not agreeing on something, after a couple of hours we'll talk again on that point, and then we'll come to an agreement. So lot many things which were on hold from last 4 or 5 years with our issues related to family issues having in my Himachal, my native place, or in other things, they all got solved in last 6 months. Yes, there were disagreements, but now we got enough time to understand each other, and we came to a conclusion that we were always looking for reasons to solve them. Now we never tried before. Now when we tried during this time, I mean, I don't know how other people will take it, but for me, this lockdown came as a much needed break from this corporate jungle where I was living in last 12-15 years. This came as a break where I am away from that and with my family. That depends on people to people how they will take it. For me, it was the most happiest time of last 15 years, these 6 months. Now I'm dreading that since office will start working next couple of months, I'm wondering how I will cope with the office now.
Yeah, that's great. Any last comments, Neha and Joy? And Joy has already shared his comments in the comment section. Any last comments, Neha? And then we'll close.
No, this is about it. I think we've talked about most of it.
Yeah.
But good discussion, everybody. Thank you for, making it possible, Gurleen.
Thank you for coming, Neha. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Vikalp. Thanks, Kaushik.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.